What is up, guys? Welcome to the top 10 Arrowverse Moments of the Week, episode 8. So this week was a generally great week for the Arrowverse because of one episode, and that is Arrow Season 7, Episode 7, titled The Slab Side Redemption. Honestly, I could have just filled the entire list with moments from this episode because to a lot of people, this is the best episode of the show ever, and to me, although I don't think it's the best episode of the whole show, it is easily the best episode of the season so far. But then you also have The Flash, Season 5, Episode 7, titled O Come All Ye Thankful, and Supergirl Season 4, Episode 7, titled Rather the Fallen Angel, as well as Legend of Tomorrow Season 4, Episode 6, titled Tender is the Nace. So since Arrow was so good this week, I honestly could have just filled the entire list with just moments from that show, which means that since this list has so many moments from that episode, which it's not the entire list, but it is a large majority of it, there are a lot of moments from episodes like The Flash, Supergirl, and That's It that are good moments that just didn't make the list. I'll go over those moments in the honorable mentions before number 1, but for now, let's go over the top 10 Arrowverse moments of the week from the 8th week.
Turner! Thanks.
For what?
Without you, we would all be dead.
So I've been saying for a while now that I want Bronze Tiger to get a redemption arc this season, and that did happen in this episode, which is very fitting because the episode has the word redemption in the title. But this ending to the episode, the ending to Bronze Tiger's storyline in this episode, where the guard comes up to him, he says thank you, and the Bronze Tiger clearly very much doesn't regret doing what he did. It's a great ending to this redemption arc, and I'm also very excited to see if they do much more with the character. After this episode in particular, Bronze Tiger has become one of my favorite recurring characters on Arrow, and I'm hoping that he returns as a good guy after this scene.
To Felicity. Yeah. Little William. And I'm gonna make sure that this time I finish the job.
So back to season 6 for a second. One big thing that I complained about Diaz was that his rivalry with Oliver just wasn't strong enough compared to Malcolm Merlyn, Deathstroke, and Prometheus. And while it still isn't as strong, it is definitely a rivalry that was solidified with this scene. This might have been Diaz's most threatening and menacing scene and most badass scene, at least talking scene he's had ever. And again, it really solidified the rivalry between these two characters, which just wasn't present up until this point.
I'm gonna make this right, Gracie. Every matter will die.
So the scene in question here is not actually the scene I showed. It is included in it. It's basically the entire origin story for Cicada. I really couldn't point out one exact scene that I would say deserves this slot, but the entire origin story definitely does. It made him a more three-dimensional character. It gave him some development, and he's a much more sympathetic and understandable villain after this origin story, which makes sense because backstories are supposed to do that, and this one did it exceptionally well.
You'll be a human lightning rod.
It's okay. I know you have to go. Run, Dad. Run!
So while Nora getting angry at her parents has gotten old at this point, I do think that this episode did it better than the rest, especially with the resolution. And I think that after this resolution where she learns and realizes that the Flash needs or is needed in Central City, and even though it's risky for Barry, it is necessary, and I did like their resolution quite a lot. It gave her some great character development, and I think that after this point she will be a much better character who will not get angry at her parents for no reason.
Stand down.
So this is where it all began with the fight scenes. The build up to this fight scene was so intense. Like, Oliver broke out of his prison to stop Diaz. The guard told him to stop. All of that, and then Oliver shakes his head saying no. It's just so intense how that built up, and then the fight scene started, and it was badass. Now, it wasn't the best fight scene in the episode, obviously. It's only at number 6, but it was pretty great nonetheless, and just the build up to it right before was insane. There are a bunch of reasons I like this scene so much. First of all, it looks really good. Even though the lighting is maybe a little bit more CGI looking than it usually is, it still looks really good in the scene. The whole scene just looks amazing. And the second thing is all the callbacks to the pilot episode, specifically the music in the background was the same when the Flash fought Weather Wizard in that episode. Also, Nora did say "Run, Dad, run." So those are really, really great callbacks to that episode. And 3, the Flash beat a villain by himself without any help, without actually needing the assistance of anybody else, and it just makes him so much more badass than he usually is.
I'm a killer. That I'm a monster. But everything I did, the whole Dunbar thing was just like the Dunbar thing. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. And all those people had it coming.
You killed other people before Dunbar.
Honestly, what you and I do is not so different, right?
So this was an incredible twist on the character, and it wasn't really much of a character change because his personality didn't change at all, which I really loved about that twist. It's just that he's been like this the entire time, and we were just led, and Oliver was led to believe that he is innocent when in fact he is not. That was really shown in this scene incredibly well, and I am incredibly interested to see what they do from now on with the character, as he's probably going to become the Star City Slayer. But anyway, this was an incredible twist on the character.
You know, she tried to kill me. She put a gun right to my face. She was about to pull the trigger.
I don't believe he is. That's not her.
It is now. It's where you made her.
So while yes, the actual fight scene between these two maybe wasn't as good as it could have been, like it was just Diaz beating up Oliver and then Oliver stabbing him and Oliver wins, which is fine, but it would have been a little better if it was more back and forth. But the actual back and forth in the arguments between the two, in the actual back and forth in the talks between the two in this episode, in this scene, really, that was great. Like I said earlier, the rivalry between the two was really solidified in that scene earlier, but it was also really solidified in this scene as well. I love the back and forth between Oliver and Diaz, specifically when Diaz was taunting Oliver about the fact that Felicity has become a very dark version of herself, which is the scene I showed. That was intense, that was great, and I really liked this rivalry from this episode. So yes, there was an illicit kiss, and yes, Diggle did disappear from the background for absolutely no reason, but the moment Oliver actually got released from prison, that was a really emotional moment where he looked up to the sky and he breathed the fresh air. That was a great callback to the movie that this episode is named after, The Shawshank Redemption, which had a very similar scene in the rain. It's not the exact same thing, but it definitely is a great callback, and like in that movie, it was a great emotional moment. It was just as good in this episode. So like I said, this week had an incredible episode in Arrow, and it really filled up the list, but I do think that there are other moments in this week that deserve at least a mention, and half of them are actually from Arrow. So the scenes from Arrow are, one, the scene that Diaz recruits all the inmates. It just made Diaz so much better as a character in that one scene. Another one is Stanley goes full Star City Slayer at the end when he kills Brick and escapes. Another one is the first time Bronze Tiger helped Oliver in this episode. That was pretty great. And another one is Oliver Queen fighting inmates with soda cans. It was a great inventive way to have this fight scene. And then you actually have some moments from Supergirl, specifically the scene where Adam talks about how he's kind of a bad person because he let his brother die, or he really couldn't do anything to help his brother. Another one is Lena telling her story about her mother to Adam. Another one is the Manchester Black twist, where he was actually working against Supergirl this entire time and he set the whole thing up. And another one is where Supergirl destroyed the bomb, or she got the bomb out of the building in time, or the statue in time, before it blew up. All those scenes, I don't think they deserve to get a slot on the list, but they were great nonetheless. No scenes from The Flash in this category, and no scenes from Legends of Tomorrow either. So with that in mind, let's go over number one of this week. So this is where the episode peaked. This fight scene was insane. The reason it's so much better than most is because it is one take. There were cuts near the end of it, but for the most part, it was just one take going between Ben Turner just really effortlessly beating up some dudes, which made him so badass, between Oliver Queen beating up some inmates as well. Just both this fight scene was insane. The fact there were no cuts just made it so much better. It flows so well. It's on par with the Daredevil fight scenes in terms of the one take fight scene, and it just makes the fight so much better. So those are the top 10 Arrowverse moments of the week, episode 8. Let me know your top 10 in the comments down below, and let me know your ranking for this week. Me personally, it would go Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and then Legend of Tomorrow. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.